Here's a little recap of what has gone down this week with Scarlett Johansson, why she's suing Disney, what Disney had to say as a rebuttal. Take a look at this.
For a full decade, Scarlett Johansson was among the most visible stars of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The arrival of the Black Widow during Iron Man 2 marked one of Marvel's earliest earnest swings at extended big-screen world-building, and her presence in more than half a dozen further MCU entries made her synonymous with the biggest film franchise of a generation. So it goes without saying that it came as a shock when on July 29, 2021, Johansson filed a lawsuit against her former employers at Disney. The complaint, filed in Los Angeles Superior Court, sees one of the highest-grossing movie stars of all time going head-to-head with the world's biggest movie studio. Per statements from the actress's attorneys, the case could be the tip of the iceberg for future legal action, her lawyer said in a statement reported on by the Wall Street Journal. This will surely not be the last case where Hollywood talent stands up to Disney and makes it clear that whatever the company may pretend, it has a legal obligation to honor its contracts. So what caused Johansson to go gunning for the House of Mouse? That depends on who you ask. Disney would likely argue that it all comes down to an impossible-to-realize contract in the face of unprecedented industry turmoil. From the Black Widow star's perspective, it's a cut-and-dry case of being denied her rightfully promised compensation. 2020 was nobody's favorite year, and it hit the entertainment industry with one punch after another. Entire release slates were pushed back a year or more, with drastic action being taken to try and turn movies into Scrooge McDuck money pools before they got too dusty sitting on the shelf. Warner Brothers shot as wide as possible, announcing a full 12-month span of flicks debuting simultaneously on HBO Max and in whatever theaters were open at the time. Meanwhile, Disney took a less dramatic approach, releasing a select few big-budget pictures in theaters and on Disney Plus for an extra fee. Mulan, Cruella, and a few more flicks all got the Disney Plus treatment between September of 2020 and May 2021. In theory, this measure would help to maintain a premium on new releases and keep profits flowing, while the film industry took a minute and recovered from getting its bell rung. In a simple world, this might seem like a reasonable solution to a laundry list of problems, but life is what happens when you're making other plans, especially plans that don't take into account a major movie star's shrewdly negotiated cut of that sweet, sweet gross. According to the complaint filed on behalf of Johansson, her contract for 2021's Black Widow involved a payday linked to the film's box office performance. Unfortunately for Johansson, Black Widow has performed historically poorly for a Marvel movie, with Box Office Mojo estimating that the picture has pulled in roughly $320 million during its first 3 weeks in theaters. Comparatively, Ant-Man and the Wasp made nearly twice as much 3 years ago. By the reckoning of Johansson and her representation, this development comes as the result of Disney's decision to release Black Widow simultaneously in theaters and as a premium streaming offering. According to the suit, this decision was made in a deliberate attempt to deprive Johansson of her contractually guaranteed earnings. The complaint alleges Disney intentionally induced Marvel's breach of the agreement without justification in order to prevent Ms. Johansson from realizing the full benefit of her bargain with Marvel. This won't mark the first time that studios and talent have butted heads over the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. In May, Bloomberg reported that Emily Blunt and John Krasinski sought financial compensation after Paramount shortened the theatrical release window of A Quiet Place Part 2 from 90 days to 45. Disney reps have yet to comment on the lawsuit.
Well, Disney did comment, and I'll go ahead and let our guest speak on it first. And then I'll quote y'all what Disney had to say. So, special guest, what do you think about the whole situation?
I mean, straight up and down, Disney wrong. They trying to recoup some pandemic lost money from anywhere they can. So, business-wise, I get it. But, I mean, you even just because the movie wasn't all that, you get a girl of money, man. Stop trying to cut corners, you know. It's one of them things where, you know, when somebody owes you money, but then they want to say, here, take your little funky $5. It wasn't funky when you gave it to me. I gave it to you. So, you know, I just feel like Disney's just trying to cut corners and recoup, you know, which a lot of people, AMC, whoever, they're trying to recoup a lot of that COVID pandemic money anywhere they can, all the while bringing in subscribers and getting our dollars.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good one. Big Larry, jump on
deserves their money. I mean, they shouldn't have did it like that, period.
Mm-hmm. Big Larry, jump on in there.
I will say I am willing to put money on it that there is something in that contract that allows Disney to do exactly what they did. Like Disney didn't just go ahead and say, "Oh, screw her," and we're going to go ahead and release this out on streaming and blah blah. Nah, there was something in that contract. Like all it takes is one word that says, like, she'll get such and such percentage of the participation if there is a theatrical release.
Larry, here's the word. Here's the word they love to use that usually don't happen. Mitigating circumstances.
There you go. There you go. And you're gonna be hard pressed to find a court in this country that's not gonna say that COVID-19 and this global pandemic has not been mitigating circumstances. So the problem is with Disney is they didn't do what Warner Brothers did. What Warner Brothers did may have pissed off the producers and the actors, but they did it with the perfect timing so that everybody that was seeing it was like, this is HBO and Warner Brothers showing mad love during the pandemic, because they did that like right as it kicked off, and people were like, man, I'm not going to be able to go to the movies. I'm bored as hell. This shit sucks. And then all of a sudden they came out, was like, boom, we're releasing this whole year's lineup for you because we don't want you to sit at home bored. We want you to have good entertainment. And people were all about them. So at that point, the actors, the producers, anybody that came out against it looked like just complete a-holes. And so Disney didn't do that. If Disney would have come out at the same time, right after literally right after Warner Brothers would have dropped that, if Disney would have came out and said, they did the responsible thing for the pandemic, we're doing the same thing. We're going to release our entire lineup for 2021 out, out there on streaming on Disney Plus. It would have pissed some people off, but they wouldn't have had a leg to stand on, because as soon as they would have stood up and said, this is crazy, you going to do this when the theaters are open, people would have been like, you know what, you greedy ass trick. We don't care about your participation. The world's in the middle of a pandemic. Just shut up and let us watch our entertainment. But they didn't do that. They waited till the theaters opened back up and then did this half and half model. And it's not looking good for either one of them, to be honest with you. I mean, you have ScarJo who's up there talking about, I want my participation money, and Disney's coming out talking about, we already paid her $20 million, and she's complaining about participation money in the middle of a pandemic. So basically what she's saying is she wants all of you to go risk your lives in the theater so that she can make more money. That's basically what she's saying, because when you look at how much people watched on streaming, they released the streaming numbers because they were impressive. Disney doesn't release streaming numbers. They never have done that before. They only did it this time because they wanted to show you this whole day and date thing can work. And we're showing you that it can work. So I think she's looking bad right now because, let's just be real. She's beautiful and she's rich. That's a combination that most people are not going to feel sorry for at all. Well, they're going to be like, oh, poor baby, poor beautiful Scarlett Johansson, who already made $20 million and wants probably $20 million more. I'm not saying that if she had it in her contract, I'm not saying it's right Disney screwing her, but she's not going to she's not going to win this in the court of public opinion. And I bet you she won't win it in a court of law either.
Okay, Moochie, I'm gonna pass it to you, but let me read what Disney had to say. And shouts out to Buzz703, who says Scarlett Johansson is a hottie. I'm glad she's not going after her due monies. Well, she's trying, brother. She's trying. She's trying. Moochie, this is what Disney had to say in a scathing remark. Disney reacted fiercely to the suit, bringing the pandemic into the argument and revealing Scarlett Johansson's salary for Black Widow in the process. There is no merit whatsoever to this filing. The lawsuit is especially sad and distressing, and its callous disregard for the horrific and prolonged global effect of COVID-19 pandemic. Disney has fully complied with Moochie Johansson's contract, and furthermore, the release of Black Widow on Disney Plus with Premier Access has significantly enhanced her ability to earn additional compensation on top of the $20 million she already received. So the lawsuit, Moochie, as I understand it, was that she was upset because she wasn't getting the extra revenue that she would get from the thing being widely served just in the movies. And I was reading that one of the reasons she's getting mad with them is because they're withholding the funds for the streaming, which she looks at it like this. It's a release, whether it's in the movie theater or in the streaming. So I want them coins from the streaming too. But Disney's not giving up the coins from the streaming. They only giving up the extra coins to her from what's in the movie.
But they're not the same thing. They're contractually, they're not the same thing. You have theatrical releases and you have ancillary releases. So that ancillary stuff is going to include VOD, streaming, DVD sales, all of that.
Okay. So Moochie, what you think?
My question is this: did she file a lawsuit after Disney put the numbers out?
They said she filed a lawsuit 29th. So yeah, it's after.
Yeah, so she saw that. She was like, "Oh, I want my money. Oh, hey, I'm supposed to get that."
Well, she's supposed to get a bonus.
Cut from the movie theater, but the streaming thing is a whole different thing. But in her head, she thinking that's us.
So
I feel like with this, she did it. Maybe somebody told her to take a shot at it and see what happened. Mm-hmm. But some people don't read everything that's in their contracts like that.
You would expect someone like her to have people on the team, lawyers that go through the contract with a fine-tooth comb.
I'm sure some lawyer was saying, I wouldn't do that if I was you.
And and think about this too, more context, and I'm gonna get my guest back in here. This contract was signed years ago when wasn't nobody thinking about a pandemic.
No pandemic. Yeah.
Wasn't nobody thinking about
this
that.
This is like, what do they call it? An act of God? Like one of those things.
Okay, so guess, now that I've given you more context, what do you think? You still feel the same way?
I mean, like I said, business-wise, like Larry, I agree with Larry. They knew certain power words to get up out of this deal, and they also knew the movie wasn't going to sell like they thought it was going to sell. So they wanted to recoup as much as they can through the pandemic, through the streaming and whatnot. But you knew they were doing dirty when they released how much she made. You don't do that about you don't talk about nobody's money, So they did that to get like a court of public opinion against her. She got 20 mil, 10 mil. She should be happy with that. Hey, if I need 20 mil and 0.5, give me my 0.5,
But here's the problem with that. We have been so conditioned in this country to always think that the person, when we hear, because a lot of people ain't millionaires. Let's just keep this thing real. And when you hear actresses and athletes complaining to the owners and organizations about they want more money, you should also take a side eye at the owner who is making hand over fist money that the actress and the owners ain't making. And Disney is the biggest movie studio in the world making money hand over fist. Yes. However, if she signed that contract and that contract only said theatrical release, if that's the wording in the contract, I don't see these business-friendly courts in the United States siding with her. I don't. Because if they do, every actor who's acted and done a movie in the last 2 years is going to be suing. Every one of them. It's going to be a precedent.
Couldn't it have been a thing where she didn't look at the streaming? It was no conversation about the streaming and whatnot. You told me strictly it was going to be theaters so I can reap that benefit. Once you start bringing
this contract was signed years ago. I don't even think Disney Plus was around then.
So that's what he's saying. He's saying that gives her legal team leeway to say
she might have a chance to it. She gonna get some money out of that streaming.
Nah, I can tell you right now. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I'm some sort of expert, but when I was in grad school and we were going through our entertainment law classes, one of the things that you see in these contracts that they put in there is all formats, current and what I forgot the exact terminology, but it's all current. It's all platforms and media and formats today and in the future for all eternity through perpetuity. They use language to such that it doesn't matter if 5 years or 20 years from now they create a way that you can implant this stuff in your brain. They're saying they own the rights to it and they are going to be able to profit off of it. So since she probably only had the theatrical release stuff, Disney's probably saying like, look, there was nothing in the contract saying that it had to be that this thing had to be only a theatrical release. It could be a theatrical and streaming and VOD and DVD, whatever at the same time. But because of the time frame, no, it was in no one's interest at that time to release on, to anything other than theatrical only. So it probably just didn't make any sense to put it in the contract, except if you're Disney and you're looking forward, because as a company, you've been working on Disney Plus didn't come up overnight. They knew they were working on it, and so they knew their lawyers need to put stuff in there that was going to protect them when the event that this came up. And I mean, we all know how Hollywood works. They don't want to mess around and not ever work with Scarlett Johansson again. So I'm sure what's going to happen is they're going to simply say, hey, let's sit down and work this out. You get your overpriced CAA agents together with our corporate lawyers. They sit in the room and they say, look, how about we give ScarJo another movie or two deal? She would make 10 million, like she may make 20 for Marvel, but she may make 10 for this movie. How about we pay her 15 for the next two movies to make up what she would have got? And then they say, okay.
They're going to settle. They're probably going to settle with her somehow, some way.
I agree.
This ain't going to go all the way to the court. And I'm going to give y'all one more piece of information, because this brought up a huge debate on CNBC. And they trotted out this guy right here. He's the CEO of Comcast. And I'm going to tell you what he said. He's talking about how we're going to this more hybrid method of movies in the theater and they're streaming at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a lot of people who are completely against that, completely against it. And I don't understand it. I'm going to tell you why. And this guy basically backed me up on my thought process. He said him and his wife love to go to theatrical movies, but then there are times they want to stay home. And he said over the last 20 years, get this, over the last 20 years, him and his team have built theatrical experiences in people's homes over the last 10 years for 35 million people, so that instead of going to the movies, when these movies hit, they can watch them in their damn home.
Yeah.
Okay. Why should that type of service only be selected for the ultra rich? Well, it used to be, and it's not no more because of streaming technology. So he's saying he's all for the hybrid model. It shouldn't hurt the actors, because when you stream it at home, you slap a premium up there that makes it more expensive than going to the movie, and you can still do the same thing, and you might even get more revenue that way, because people are not going to go to the theater. They're just going to stay at home. Now, I'm going to pass this to my guest again. How do you feel about that?
Say it again.
How do you feel about what this guy said in terms of streaming and going to the movie theaters?
I mean, in theory, he's right. I mean, the future is about technology, true. But I mean, come on, bro. You're the owner, you're the CEO of Comcast. Obviously, it would behoove you to get people to do streaming. I mean, you're going to get the bottom line of that. So, in theory, yes. But realistically, you can't just subjugate everyone to that. You just can't do that. That's not fair, and it's basically alienating the people who want to get back to the old natural, the old normal, which is ridiculous, but still, that thing is a cop out to make money like you used to make money off of movies, but keep more of it in your purse because you offer the streaming. You're offering and you're selling the place to go and the movie. Like, you're getting me on both sides of the candle. So obviously he's going to feel in that way.
So let me ask you this, then I'll pass it to Moochie. You don't feel like that empowers the consumer? Because the consumer, if you want to go to the theater, it's still there for you to go. But if you want to stay home and watch it, you can, but you just got to pay a premium.
I feel like that it weakens the product, so more or less. You know what I mean? It's, for instance, just like the Space Jam. My kids wanted to go to the movies due to the hectic schedule and whatnot. We end up watching it at home. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not saying that we wanted to do that. Like, I wanted to go back out. I'm vaccinated. I wanted to take my kids to the movies, but because of the convenience, we lost that thrill of going to the theater because it was so readily available. you know.
Okay.
And it's one of the things, like I said, you're going to get the money regardless. But hey, you know, you're taking away, you're weakening the product. You're cutting the product too much. You know, putting too much baking soda in it.
Oh, you talking about Snowflow? What y'all doing?
No. Ladies and gentlemen, our other guest has arrived. This is Struggle Reviews. We glad to see you. How you doing tonight?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
Man, this panel just keeps getting better looking every time, man.
Thank you, Larry. I got a haircut. Thank you. Thank you, my brother. I cut my hair the other day. I said I'm gonna go with the scruffy beard for the winter. I appreciate that, my brother. I appreciate it.
We got Moochie all the time with her new hairstyles and eyeshadow popping. Nita comes through. We have new struggle review TV. I mean, I'm just telling you, Miss K.
I miss Nita tonight. Hey, Nita, wherever you are.
Oh Lord, have mercy. Then we've got Miss K. We just got a rolling panel going on here now. So Miss Struggle Review, we're gonna bring you in on the next subject. Okay. And we'll go ahead and move to that subject. Please leave us your comments about Scarlett Johansson, the Disney suit, and when we get some final something that happens, we'll let you guys know.
You know what, Lamont? I did want to say one other thing about what Disney did when they released the amount of money that they paid her. I think what they might have done, sort of unintentionally, and maybe intentionally, is probably revealed that she might be the highest paid female actor in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Because as far as I know, I think it's only the men that have been making $20 million a film. So for her to have made that probably puts her up there as the highest paid female actor in Hollywood right now.
Last year, do you guys know who was the highest paid last year for the first time ever? No. Black woman, Viola Davis.
Oh, okay.
What did she make?
I don't know what she made per movie, but she made the most out of anybody in Hollywood. She made somewhere like $80 million.
Yeah, see that you're talking about a cumulative amount from all of her different projects. Yeah, I'm thinking about just one. Yeah, I'm thinking about just one single project.